Is the world really seeing what BTS wants it to see as they set foot in Portugal? Or is there something deliberately left ambiguous, something only perceptible to the keen eye, hidden in odd seconds, in a distance that feels too close yet too quiet to be called a coincidence? Lisbon, February 4th, 2026, was supposed to be an ordinary day, almost routine, on BTS's global travel calendar. Their arrival in Portugal was met with joyful news, smiles, and the familiar wave of excitement from ARMY around the world. Yet, as with many major moments in the group's journey, that day ended up raising far more questions than it answered. Not because of what was said, but because of what remained unspoken. Not because of any overt action, but because of small details that felt far too significant to ignore. And at the center of all the whispers, speculation, and growing analysis, two names once again became the main focus: Kim Taehyung and Jungkook. A short video that spread rapidly across the social media platform X shows BTS passing through the immigration or security checkpoint area at Lisbon's airport. At first glance, everything appears normal. There is no chaos, no dramatic gestures, no obvious incident that could instantly be labeled controversial. Yet this is precisely where the sense of strangeness begins. Taehyung and Jungkook are seen walking extremely close to each other, so close that fans quickly describe them as sticking like glue. The distance between them is nearly non-existent, their steps synchronized, their pace seemingly agreed upon without a single word. For some, this is simply proof of the close bond between two BTS members long known for their strong connection. But for others, especially ARMY who are accustomed to reading body language and internal group dynamics, this moment felt different, too intense to be dismissed as habit, too quiet to be meaningless. The question then shifts from what happened to why does this feel different? In the world of BTS, every trip, every glance, every airport appearance often becomes material for deep analysis. Airports are not just transit spaces. They are open stages where the public can catch fleeting glimpses of a reality usually hidden behind the scenes. And on that day in Lisbon, that stage seemed to emit an unusual energy. Taehyung did not look around much. Jungkook appeared focused, his expression calm, yet closed off. There was no excessive joking, no conspicuous interaction with cameras. It was as if there was an unspoken agreement to keep the outside world beyond their shared orbit. ARMY began to wonder, was this simply travel fatigue? Was there an important schedule ahead that demanded their full concentration? Or had something happened earlier, something that made their closeness feel more like protection than casual familiarity? This is where speculation began to grow, and as always, every theory found its own supporters. BTS is no stranger to intense scrutiny. For years, their every move has been analyzed, every shift in behavior interpreted. But there is a reason why this moment in Portugal feels heavier. Timing plays a crucial role. After a long period of individual activities, lingering rumors about internal dynamics, and ever-increasing global expectations, every interaction between members is now read as a potential clue. Taehyung and Jungkook, as two figures with massive fan bases and a long-standing narrative of closeness, naturally became the focal point. In the video, the camera captures Taehyung leaning slightly toward Jungkook, as if ensuring that the distance between them remains intact. Jungkook, on the other hand, seems to follow Taehyung's steps with almost reflexive precision. No words are audible, no wide smiles appear, the kind they usually show in public. What remains is a strange silence, a silence that speaks louder than words. Is this a form of solidarity? A response to certain pressures? Or is it merely an overinterpretation by fans too accustomed to searching for meaning in every second? These questions circle endlessly through digital spaces, fueling long discussions, body language analyses, and comparisons with BTS's past airport moments. Looking back, Taehyung and Jungkook have often appeared close in public spaces. But their closeness was usually accompanied by laughter, light interactions, or gestures easily read as warm friendship. In Lisbon, the tone felt different. The closeness was quieter, more serious, as if the world around them had faded away. This is what made many ARMY feel that something was off. Lisbon itself, a city rich in history and symbolism as a crossroads of cultures, became an ironic backdrop for this moment. Known for its golden light and relaxed atmosphere, the city instead witnessed a scene that felt tense and mysterious. Was this merely coincidence, or something symbolic? In the BTS narrative, coincidences are rarely treated as just coincidences. It did not take long for the video clip to spread widely, cut, slowed down, and analyzed from multiple angles. Every small movement was magnified in meaning. The way Jungkook lowered his head, the way Taehyung walked half a step ahead, the way they did not separate even as other members were nearby. All of these details became fuel for an ever-growing conversation. Some fans attempted to temper the speculation with rational explanations. They reminded others that long journeys can be exhausting, that staying close in an airport can be a security strategy, that not every moment needs to be read as hidden drama. Yet others argued that BTS themselves have taught their fans to be sensitive to details. Haven't many important BTS messages been conveyed through small things, symbols, gestures that seem trivial at first glance? This tension between rationality and fan intuition lies at the heart of the reaction to BTS's arrival in Portugal. And amid this push and pull, the names Taehyung and Jungkook continued to surface, analyzed as if they held the key to a much larger puzzle. What is particularly striking is the absence of any official statement to explain or calm the situation. There was no clarification from the agency, no post directly addressing the airport moment. This silence, rather than dampening speculation, only amplified it. In the entertainment world, silence is often louder than words. Some ARMY began to connect this moment to a broader context. Could it be related to a specific project? Was there external pressure that made Taehyung and Jungkook choose to stick together in public? Or was it simply a reflection of a personal relationship in a particular phase? Without clear answers, every theory felt equally plausible. What is certain is that BTS's arrival in Portugal became more than just news about an international trip. It transformed into an emotional narrative that sparked curiosity, concern, and even hope. Hope that whatever may be happening behind the scenes, the bond between the members remains strong. Hope that the closeness on display is not a sign of trouble, but of support. Yet herein lies the paradox. Closeness that feels too intense can also breed suspicion. Why so close? Why so synchronized at that specific moment? These questions do not arise from ill intent, but from deep care. In this fandom ecosystem, attention is a form of love, and analysis is a language of affection. As time passed, discussions about the Lisbon airport moment began to branch out. Some focused on facial expressions. Others compared it to BTS's arrivals in other countries. Still others revisited old interviews, on-stage interactions, even song lyrics, as if all of it might offer clues to what was really happening. Taehyung, with his often enigmatic artistic image, easily became a canvas for projected meanings. Jungkook, known for his perfectionism and sensitivity, was equally subject to interpretation. When these two characters walked side by side in silence, it was natural for the public to feel they were witnessing something more than a simple airport transit. I asked this the beginning of a new narrative. Is it merely a pause before something bigger is revealed? Or are we, as observers, too eager to find drama in every corner? These answers may never come explicitly. And perhaps they do not need to, because ultimately, the moment in Portugal serves as a reminder of one essential truth. BTS, despite the global spotlight, are still human beings with complex emotional dynamics. Not everything must be understood instantly. Not every silence needs to be filled with conclusions. But in a fast-moving world where every second can go viral, patience has become a rare commodity. BTS's arrival in Lisbon will be remembered not for chaos or grand receptions, but for a silence that lingered, for a distance too close to ignore, for gazes not directed at the camera, and for two figures walking side by side, seemingly carrying a story known only to them. Will we one day learn what truly lay behind that moment? Perhaps. Or perhaps not. But one thing is certain. That day in Portugal added another chapter to BTS's long story, a chapter written not with words, but with steps, proximity, and a silence heavy with meaning. As the hours passed and the initial wave of viral reactions began to settle, a deeper layer of interpretation emerged among observers who have followed BTS not just as artists, but as cultural figures whose movements often reflect broader pressures within the global entertainment industry. The Lisbon arrival was no longer discussed merely as a curious airport moment. It began to be framed as a mirror of the invisible weight carried by artists who have long lived between expectation and restraint. In that light, the closeness between Taehyung and Jungkook took on a more complex emotional resonance, one that extended beyond friendship and into the realm of mutual grounding. For years, BTS have been positioned as symbols of unity, resilience, and shared purpose. Yet unity does not always manifest through loud declarations or public affirmations. Sometimes it appears in silence, in shared pace, in the instinctive decision not to drift apart when surrounded by unfamiliar eyes. In Lisbon, Taehyung and Jungkook seem to embody this quieter form of unity. Their body language suggested not performance, but instinct, as though remaining close was less a choice and more a natural response to the environment around them. This interpretation resonated strongly with fans who have grown increasingly aware of the psychological toll of fame. The modern idol is not only expected to perform flawlessly on stage, but also to navigate airports, crowds, and constant surveillance with composure. Every step is documented, every expression archived. Under such conditions, closeness can become a form of refuge. Standing beside someone who understands that pressure without explanation can offer a sense of stability that words cannot provide. Yet even this empathetic reading did not fully quiet the lingering unease. Why did this moment feel heavier than others? Why did it spark such an intense emotional reaction across the fandom? Some suggested that it was precisely because nothing dramatic happened. In a media landscape conditioned to respond to spectacle, stillness can feel unsettling. Silence invites projection. It creates space for viewers to insert their own fears, hopes, and unanswered questions. The absence of overt emotion from Taehyung and Jungkook was particularly striking. Both are known for expressive performances and candid moments that often break through the polished surface of idol life. In Lisbon, that expressiveness was subdued. Their faces revealed little, offering no clear emotional cues for audiences accustomed to reading them. This emotional opacity became fertile ground for speculation. Were they guarding something? Processing something? Or simply choosing privacy in a moment where privacy is rarely granted? As discussions evolved, some ARMY began to revisit the idea that BTS's strongest messages are often delivered indirectly. Throughout their career, the group has used symbolism, narrative continuity, and subtle shifts in tone to communicate growth, struggle, and change. Seen through that lens, the Lisbon moment did not need explanation. It existed as a fragment of a larger, ongoing story, one that would only make sense in retrospect. Others, however, resisted the urge to mythologize the moment. They argued that the danger of overinterpretation lies in stripping artists of their humanity. Not every quiet walk is a coded message. Not every shared step signals hidden turmoil. Sometimes, two people are simply tired, focused, or uninterested in performing for the camera. This counterpoint highlighted a tension that has long existed within fandom culture, the balance between emotional investment and respectful distance. Still, the conversation refused to fade. Each time the video resurfaced, it reignited the same questions. Each new angle, each slowed-down clip, added another layer to the collective analysis. The Lisbon arrival became a reference point, a moment fans would return to when discussing the evolving dynamic of BTS in this chapter of their career. What made this moment particularly compelling was its openness. Unlike staged content or official releases, the airport footage was raw, unfiltered, and unscripted. It offered no clear narrative, no guiding context. In that ambiguity, fans found both freedom and frustration. Freedom to interpret, to empathize, to connect. frustration at the lack of closure, at the impossibility of knowing what lay beneath the surface. AS days turned into weeks. The intensity of the discussion gradually softened, but the memory remained. It lingered as an example of how even the smallest moments involving BTS can resonate deeply, not because of what is shown, but because of what is withheld. The Lisbon arrival reminded observers that meaning is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it is quiet, almost imperceptible, hiding in the space between two people walking side by side. In the end, perhaps the true significance of that day lies not in uncovering a definitive explanation, but in recognizing the emotional dialogue it sparked. It revealed how deeply fans care, how attentively they watch, and how willing they are to sit with uncertainty. It also underscored a simple, human truth. Closeness does not always demand interpretation. Sometimes it simply exists, asking only to be witnessed, not decoded. And so, the image of Taehyung and Jungkook walking through the Lisbon airport indoors, suspended between mystery and normalcy. It remains a quiet moment in a loud world, a brief pause in a fast-moving narrative. Whether it was a sign of something larger or merely a fleeting instance of shared presence may never be fully known. But its impact is undeniable. In that silence, in that closeness, fans saw not answers, but reflections of their own emotions, concern, curiosity, affection, and an enduring desire to understand the artists they love. What followed after that moment was not a resolution, but a quiet expansion of meaning. The Lisbon footage did not fade the way most viral clips do. Instead, it settled into the collective memory of the fandom, resurfacing whenever discussions about BTS's emotional landscape arose. It became a reference not because it was loud or sensational, but because it felt unfinished, like a sentence deliberately left without a period. And unfinished moments, perhaps more than any other, have a way of lingering in subsequent days. Fans began to notice how differently this moment felt compared to other airport appearances. There was no visible effort to entertain, no playful acknowledgement of cameras, no performative ease. The energy was inward, almost guarded. For artists who have spent more than a decade navigating public space as both workplace and stage, such restraint stood out sharply. It suggested a boundary, subtle yet firm, drawn not with words but with posture and proximity. This sense of boundary led many to reflect on how BTS's relationship with the public has evolved. Early in their career, openness was both a necessity and a survival strategy. Smiles, waves, and accessibility helped build trust and connection. But as their influence grew, so did the cost of constant openness. Privacy became rarer, more valuable, and more fiercely protected. In that context, the Lisbon moment could be read as a quiet assertion of agency. Not a rejection of fans, but a reminder that some moments are not meant to be shared fully. Taehyung and Jungkook, standing close without explanation, seemed to occupy a shared emotional space that did not require translation. Their closeness did not seek validation. It did not invite applause or reassurance. It simply existed. And perhaps that was what unsettled so many viewers. In a culture accustomed to constant disclosure, the choice not to explain can feel almost radical. There was also a growing sense that the emotional response from fans said as much about the audience as it did about the artists. The concern, the speculation, the desire to understand what lay beneath the surface all pointed to a deep emotional investment. BTS has long encouraged introspection, empathy, and emotional honesty through their music. It is unsurprising, then, that their fans approach even silent moments with emotional seriousness. Yet silence can be misread. It can be mistaken for tension, distance, or distress when it may simply be neutrality.